Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's They Made What into a Movie. In a rare event, we're doing a sequel pretty much directly after the first film in a series. Yes, this is our review and talk through of Dead Rising Endgame, the sequel to Dead Rising Watchtower, which, as you know, was the previous episode we did. This one, 2016 zombie film directed by Pat Williams and written by Tim Carter and Michael Ferris. Released on Crackle again in June 2016. And when we say sequel, we mean sequel. This is effectively a direct sequel, continuing the story, sort of continuing the overarching narrative of the first film, but basically abandoning everything related to the game, barring a couple of references here. If you're going into Dead Rising Endgame thinking that this is in any way, shape, or form going to be related to Dead Rising games, you got another thing coming. At best, all we've got really is the Zombrex and that aspect of it, really more than anything else, and some minor references towards aspects from the actual series. But yeah, as a video game movie adaptation, this is not an adaptation of any of the games. It's just a continuation of the story in Watchtower, which is already pretty loose as well. Here's the thing. I don't really care about that side of things because here's the right. Had Watchtower been like a pretty much adaptation of a Dead Rising story, I think then this would be a bit more of a shock. But as Watchtower was using things from the world of Dead Rising rather than being an adaptation of the games, I don't think this is too much of a problem. I think,
Yeah, but
well,
no, I was going to say that I think we discussed it before. Like that is it's virtually impossible to make a an adaptation literally like for like. It is impossible, you know. But I think the fact that they have references and they throw little things into it, I'm okay with that, you know. So I know a lot of people wouldn't be, but it's practically impossible to make it like literally perfect for perfect.
well, as we talked about in Watchtower, they couldn't do Dead Rising 1 because they'd just be ripping off Dawn of the Dead, so to speak. And while they could have done Fortune City for Dead Rising 2, how do you follow that up? Um, so, like,
Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, ultimately, you could argue that because by not following the game's plots or any of the game's plots, we should end up with a better movie here. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it as I often do at the start. I am. This is fine. This is fine, but that is not good enough. It's so fucking forgettable that I think give it a week and I will have forgotten the majority of what was in this film. Like it's just the most basic bitch zombie film. Like it's just that's all it is.
yeah, I agree. I mean, don't go. I think it's slightly better than the first one for me.
Mhm.
But I have a lot of gripes about this film. You know, from the first one, you had a lot of zombie action. In this one, there's very very little. You know, the zombies, which are like for me the main creature, the main thing about Dead Rising, and there's not enough of them. And I thought they looked terrible compared to the first one, which I thought the CGI was pretty decent, or the makeup was decent.
I'm gonna agree with you on almost all points. I think you've got a good point about the makeup. I think there's a specific point actually where it gets really bad nearer the latter part when a certain type's introduced. And we'll get into that, I think, when we get to it
Yeah.
in the story. Because I do agree with you on that. I actually think there's too much zombie action in this, actually. I
Okay.
think I think the problem with this film is there's basically no real characters, no real story, and then it's just zombie set piece jump to another. And what it
Mm,
lacks, right? I think Watchtower's better because what I think Endgame lacks is the fun part. Watchtower's sort of zombie moments and even like the human battles had a sort of video game over the topness about it. This
mm,
goes for more like straightforward, serious thing. Like, and I don't really get that. I mean, we'll
yeah.
get into specific scenes as we go along, but I don't. I'll just go back to what I was saying. I don't think this is a bad film. I just don't think it's a good film either.
Yeah.
Okay, three people reprised their roles in this film. Jesse Metcalf as Chase Carter, Keegan Connor Tracy as Jordan Blair, and Dennis Haysbert as General Leons or Lions. Those are the three people reprising the new cast. Yes, there is no sign of Frank West in this film at all. I guess they realized they didn't need to do the video, the footage, and pay a fairly significant actor the money, you know?
Yeah. Good. I'm glad it just wasn't me going crazy because I was at first I was convinced that his girlfriend was the girlfriend original for the first one, so I
Right.
had to go back and check it to make sure that because it's a completely different actress.
Yeah, it's not the same character. Even though weirdly, she has a similar
Hmm.
backstory. And
Yeah.
like, what I couldn't understand is, oh wait, why not just use the same freaking character? Because here's
That's
the thing, right? Let's say the actor doesn't want to do it. Just recast then. Just
yep.
recast and make like it would initially I'd have been like, oh, it's a different actor, but I'd have quickly got used to that. But instead,
Yeah.
they would just make it a brand new character played by a different actor, but with a very similar story. And it's just like,
Yeah, it made no sense. They could have just maybe had a little throwaway line that she turned, she died, and this is a new character. That's all they had to do.
yeah, maybe, I guess, but I mean, I just don't, it just doesn't matter really because this is Sandra Lowe, played by Maria Avagalopoulos. That's a hell of a last name, but it's Sandra. Then we've got Jessica Harmon as Jill Eklund, Camille Sullivan as Sue or Susan Ingot, Victor Webster as Chuck Green. We'll talk about Chuck Green's appearance in this film as it goes on. Patrick Sabongi as Garth O'Toole. Now, apparently, Patrick Sabongi was actually in the first film, Watchtower, but the actor played a different character. So, this is not him reprising his role. This is just the same actor playing a different character. I didn't remember from Watchtower, no idea who he was, and didn't understand it either. What's the point?
Yeah, yeah.
Your star, if you want, of this film, Billy Zane as Dr. Leon Rand, and Ian Tracy as George Hancock. If you're thinking, God, that's some boring ass names, you're not wrong, because this is a list of boring ass
Oh, shit.
characters.
You know what? I just fucking that is Billy Zane. Oh shit!
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Was
that.
it what threw you off? Was it the bald head and the
Yeah,
tash?
yeah, yeah. Because I'm so used to seeing him with hair that wow.
He's been, but you haven't seen Billy Zane in anything in a long time then, because Billy Zane's been bald for nearly got to be at least 2 decades. Are you going
Oh
all the
really?
way
Oh
back
wow.
to Titanic? As the last film we've seen him in is Titanic.
Yeah, possible. Titanic
Zoolander?
do land in a bit of hair, I think, around the side,
No,
but
he's bald. He's bald in
is it?
Zoolander.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh shit! Yeah, bloody hell.
Yeah, so he's been
Right.
bald a while, and this is obviously a bit of an older Billy Zane as well. And look, it's Billy Zane doing what Billy Zane does these days. He does small roles in low budget movies or like movies like this, some is horror and all of that. It's a very minor role. He is entertaining. Don't get me wrong. When he turns up, he is entertaining. But
Yeah,
it's what is it? 6 minutes, 5, 6 minutes overall, if that.
yeah,
Anyway, so this film is set between the events of Dead Rising 2 and 3, and it continues where Watchtower left off. Over the opening credits, we get a mix of real footage and zombie full footage that speaks of the events of the first film and the zombie issue overall. And immediately from these opening credits, you get the vibe what this film is. Serious, way more serious.
yeah,
The military slash government plan to implement the Zombrex chip into the infected. That's going ahead. However, as people have gone missing, the media has picked up on potential abuse by the military. And for some reason, they're all running with the story of the missing Jordan Blair, who Chase has been attempting to find. And that part made me laugh. So you've got all these huge stories about missing people and all that. And then at the end, you've got all the news medias apparently are talking about this one person. They wouldn't be talking about one fucking person. She is not that important. And they certainly
I know.
wouldn't be talking about freelance reporter Chase Carter. No one's talking about Chase Carter.
And I mean, as far as I'm aware, from the first one, all they both were basically two reporters who got fired or were
Yeah,
replaced.
it's harsh as it sounds. They're nobodies in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
2 years after the outbreak, we begin in the East Mission quarantine zone, and it's Monday, 4:27 p.m. for some reason. Why, why, why are we doing not just doing times, because times are dumb as well, but giving it a 4:27? What?
I was going to ask you, because as soon as I saw the time, did you do your time thing?
No, I couldn't. Do you know
Oh,
why? Because you know why? Because the end of the film has them fucking around with the speeds and all of that. It would
mhm.
have been impossible for me to. I thought about
Yeah,
it, but only if. But the problem was it wasn't counting down because it'd count down, and then they would do the whole hacking thing, and it would
I think
shoot back up. So there was no way to know if they were, it had like yeah, like what Damon is referring to is in the Resident Evil movies mainly. They would constantly put a timer up and then basically the events would continue onwards with no jumps. So I would try to see how accurate it was. Sometimes it was incredibly accurate. Other times
mm,
it was wildly out, you know?
yeah,
Okay, we then see a young girl walking down the road and picking up a ball. She's missing half her face in a pretty good effect before she's splattered by a military truck. And we see this as a transport truck with some prisoners inside that looks very dodgy. I like this sort of zombie splatter start. You see the effects, you kind of sort of get up to speed, and you see the militaries or certain leg and arm of the militaries don't care attitude.
yeah. It was a strong start. Yeah, I liked it.
The dodginess of this transport is confirmed as watching the transport arrive at a building is everyone's favorite boring ass hero. It's Chase Carter. Look, I said it in the first film's review, and I'm going to say it here. Jesse Metcalf is fine. He's a solid actor. I've seen him do good stuff elsewhere. There's
Mm.
nothing wrong with him doing Chase here either. But he's got nothing to
There's
do
no person.
really. He's
There's
got
no
no personality.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's none at all.
He's just a boring man.
Mm.
Anyway, he's with another dude who has led Chase to this place on agreement of being paid. And Chase, along with his team nearby, is hoping to get evidence of bad stuff inside the building. This is what compels him to go inside, even with all the danger, and he's able to record Lyons arriving and talking to someone named Skinner about their agreement. Now, this is all fine because this is in a quarantine area, so security wouldn't be that hot and all that kind of thing. You won't expect that many people to be sneaking around. It's totally fine. I buy all of that. The idea that the general, this is General Lyons, not Sergeant Lyons, not freaking, like Grunt Irons. This is a general in the military coming
Mhm.
into the quarantine zone to speak directly to a grunt, basically, a drug runner, so to speak, and doing like moving dodgy bodies about, is the most insane plot point of this film. The worst thing is later we'll see that Leon's has like a number two, a sort of number two that he sends. Why are you not sending this guy to go talk to this man? The fact that the general is putting not just himself at risk, but like exposure, but putting himself at risk, like it's madness.
It's so if they found out about I do a court, he could say, "Well, I'm over here. I've got nothing to do with this." But the fact that he's actually physically there, it just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Plausible deniability. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You
Yeah,
send a goon to do this. That goon gets killed. Do you know what I mean? Or that goon gets caught. Hey, we just deny it, and it was all on that. They do that later on with
yeah.
fricking George Hancock. The absurdity. I thought it was so dumb. But also, it's like it's an info dump. So Chase is hiding up top with his camera as Leon arrives and talks to someone named Skinner about their agreement, which is an agreement that is basically about providing fresh human subjects to a man named Dr. Rand, something about Project Afterlife, and the requirement to keep the movement of bodies covert. All this information is just dropped. Oh my goodness me, I laughed so hard. Wow, you couldn't have planned that any better to drop all this information for Chase.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's like they've never discussed this before, so let's all discuss it now
Yeah,
while the geezer's up there filming.
yeah, it's just like, oh, it's basically the equivalent of saying that horrible movie line, as you know, and then you just start repeating. If they already know it, why are you telling them again?
Yeah,
Okay. So yeah, the man outside is caught and is brought in, reveals to been working with Skinner, but while being sort of threatened. And Leon's is really like I like Dennis Haysbert, right? He's a solid actor. I've seen him in
yeah.
stuff, right? But he kind of sucks in this film. And like, I really noticed it here. The line delivery. He's seen my face. You better handle it. Like, act like you can. I get it. He's a general, so he's not going to be like, oh, angry or upset or whatever. But
Yeah,
maybe speak with authority. Make it seem like Skinner should be afraid of you.
yeah. It was seem that they seem to be talking on the same level.
Yeah, it's very robotic, and I was
Mm.
disappointed, and unfortunately, it doesn't really get any better. And I think the problem is most of his scenes involve him just having to talk to people without
Mm.
like where they're just talking about facts rather than anything worth passionate. Like, and even at the end of the film, he kind of just vanishes. Like it's just like,
Well,
ah,
you think about it, he's only in the film for maybe 10 minutes. If you think
yeah,
about it,
overall, yeah, it's
yeah.
not a big role. You're right, you're right.
Compared to the
Yeah,
first one, he was in quite a lot of the first one.
and I would argue they always have a sort of laziness because a lot of the film he's in civilian clothes as well. It's like
Yeah,
he just walked in from the street. Like he popped in for one day, didn't he? He popped in for one day and went,
yeah,
"Look, I ain't changing out my, I ain't changing my cars, but the meter's running in the cab. Give me my scenes, and I'm done." You know.
yeah,
But anyway, this dude's killed and Chase's hiding spot is found. Chase has to run for his life and finds himself in a room of bodies, but it's not quite dead bodies, of course, and he's attacked by a zombie. There is a cool scene here where he has to kind of silence the zombie using a chair-like leg so that he doesn't alert his pursuers, and then he kills the zombie. It's a cool scene that makes no sense because that chair leg wouldn't stop the zombie completely from making noise. But
yeah.
I thought it was an inventive idea.
I quite like the scene. I always, I mean, zombie films do it quite a lot. Where there's a room full of loads of dead bodies and they come
Yeah,
alive. I quite like that scene. So,
yeah. Yeah, I liked it as well. We should say this is like the first film, a gory film. And here,
mm,
for example, a chair leg going straight for that zombie's face. There is a lot of blood. And I think the effects are good.
yep,
Chase ends up in the street. The army gives chase, but he manages to get to an alleyway where he's blocked in by a large zombie. I didn't get this, right? Is this a reference to him being the first film? So he kind of goes, it's a big old zombie, like hulking beast of a zombie, but he kind of goes, oh, not like, oh, not again, and I was like, is he trying to refer to like the way he got stuck with the clown zombie from the first? Like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me, something like that.
yeah. I didn't get that reference, but I just thought like maybe it was like, oh, zombies again. But then he's been used to zombies the entire time.
I just
So
thought maybe because it's quite a big zombie, it looked like it would be difficult to take down. Because of course it
yeah,
is. Obviously, he's able to deal with eventually, and he moves on to meeting up with his team in another part of the city. We then immediately cut to Chase bringing his new station to footage, where his boss, basically, we got a boss of the network and a boss of the station, both refusing to broadcast it, claiming that A, it's not conclusive enough.
what more do you
Right,
need?
fair. Yeah, I mean, what more do you need? That's absurd. And that they risk the wrath of the military should they go down this route. Um, yeah and no, I can kind of vibe with that one. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're gonna hang your neck out to dry, I suppose like the point is that if you're gonna hang your neck out to dry, you don't want it to be anything that can be questioned.
Yeah,
Basically, what they want is Leon's turning to the camera and going, "It was me," and basically listing off all his crimes. So basically, the lesson here, as we're being told, is everybody is fearful of that the military will come and kill them or they'll disappear the way other people have been disappearing. And Chase, being the reasonable human being, uh, totally understands that and accepts that and promises to go off and get conclusive proof. No, instead he shouts at everybody, calls them cowards, insults them to their face, and storms off. Hero!
exactly.
He gets into with his girlfriend Sandra, who is not impressed by his one-man crusade. So yeah, similar to the first movie, this film was decided to wait like 20, 30 minutes in to then start introducing these other people who we've already seen. Drew drove me nuts that no one at any point says a name. He's like talking to people on the radio. At no point is he
Mm.
saying, "Hey Sandra, like, can you do this, whatever?" I don't expect him to say, "Hey Sandra, my girlfriend who I met 3 years ago." I don't expect them to do that, but at least drop
Yeah,
a freaking name for me so I can work out who's who.
yeah, exactly.
Pissed off, Chase goes and has a beer with Jill, who is basically just a friend, as Chase reflects on the mess they're in and self-loathing over his own failures. So basically, Chase's biggest character development in this is that he blames himself for Jordan going missing.
Yeah.
How? Now, This would make a little more sense if they hadn't been completely separated in the previous movie. Now you can feel kind of annoyed and frustrated and maybe a bit guilty that your efforts to try and find her have not gone far. But he does
Mm.
the opposite. He's kind of doing a I'm to blame for her gone missing. And
Yeah.
it's like, but you weren't even in the same location for most of the film. In fact, it's like they should have what they should have done is spelled out better that because she was aiding him from the outside. Like perhaps if they stressed that more, then it would have made more sense.
So I'm stretching here, but I thought that was because at the very beginning of the film, she wanted to leave. And he was like, "Nah, I'm going to go in the tents and stuff like that." So, and then she walked off. But then that's a massive stretch.
No, you're actually right. He does mention that later on. He apologizes to her for going inside the tent. You've actually do.
Oh, oh.
You reminded me of that as well. You're right. You're right. That is literally it.
Mm.
So yeah, he has got guilty feelings. That's my mistake. But you're right. Um, in the bathroom, a man comes in and tells Chase to come with him. Come with me if you want to live. Basically, is what he says. But he's there. It's come with me. You're in danger of that. This is George Hancock who, long story short, I'm going to tell you who he is because the film takes so long to tell us who he is. He effectively is a whistleblower who was an important executive at Trans, who reveals to Chase that Leon has sent agents to grab him and together they make their escape. Chase, you generally didn't think this was going to happen? Like either after what if all the things I've done, like if I'm Chase and all the things I've apparently done over the last few years, I am never leaving a crowded public area. I am
Yep.
certainly never going anywhere alone, and I'm always having cameras running on me 24/7 that are feeding my where I'm location to other like. Come on, the fact that it seems like he has just been running around. I get there could have been a bit. Oh, they can't get rid of Chase because people would notice his disappearance. Say that then. But
Yeah.
also, I won't believe you because he's just a fucking reporter.
Exactly.
Anyway, obviously, rather than perhaps sending the agents to grab Chase on the street after he comes up from drinking, they send the agents into a busy bar slash restaurant. Another really smart move from our general.
Okay.
Anyway, on the roof, George reveals that Afterlife is the conclusion of Watchtower. And it's like, mate, don't give the film away. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't tell us that. And the
Yeah.
agents aren't just trying to capture him, they're trying to kill him. Something proven as they open fire and chase. This was a weird The scene where he shoots at Chase was weird, right? Because it
Yep.
looks like the way it's shot, it looks like he purposely misses. Because I
Hmm.
remember thinking, oh, he missed on purpose. He must be like a character that's going to turn sides later on in the film. No, he just
No.
seems to miss. The way it's shot, it's like he does it on purpose, like he's sending a warning shot out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I don't get it too because this guy is clearly a good marksman, with his gun too. So
And it's not like Chase isn't a big decent height. He's on the top of a ladder. Like it feels like he could have hit him. But there
yeah.
you go. So I thought there was I thought they were going to do something with this, but they simply don't. They're able to get away though, and Leon's is called and informed. In a car, George reveals that Phoenotron's basically put a fail safe into the chip. A fail safe that will be an overdose of Zombrex and that would kill everyone with a chip inside them. The army has now seized control of that failsafe and plans to use it to wipe out the virus completely, even if it causes genocide. So basically, that's their thinking. The army's thinking is enough of this nonsense. Let's just wipe out everybody that's got the zombie virus in them. That basically will save the world effectively, but it would kill like 1.4 million people, whatever. Big flaw in this plan. And it's such an easy one to fall apart. Well, that's presuming everybody has allowed the chip to be implanted in them.
Yeah.
In in life and in world, there would be hundreds of thousands of people who would simply refuse to have the chip implanted in them, or
Yeah.
not, or just lie and say they didn't. You know what I mean? Like there would be so many people that wouldn't do it. So you could wipe out 1 million people, but if 400,000 people still have the zombie virus in them, then it's just going to spread again anyway.
Yep. Exactly.
It's such a flawed plan, and I don't get it. What I don't get it as well is it makes the military's plan and Leon's plan have shades of grey,
Yeah.
because you could argue their plan to eradicate the zombie virus is is it needs like you get the thinking behind it. It's at the end of the world. Something needs to be done there, but it just because obviously the cost is too great. The cost is way too great. But like, why add that shade? Why not just make it that like like it's a little bit more evil than that?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I thought it was a great. It was a terrible plan. Right?
Oh,
Terrible
it is a
idea.
terrible plan. It is a
Yeah,
terrible plan.
yeah,
Ignoring the fact that it's going to kill like 1.4 million people and still potentially not eradicate the zombie virus.
yep.
Anyway, of course, this means in classic Dead Rising style, we have a timer. For some reason, the military have gone, we'll do this, but we won't do it until tomorrow at 7 p.m. Just push the button now. What are you waiting for? Right?
They can't. There's still like 63 minutes left of the film.
It's
So
so silly, right? It's so
yeah.
forced. It feels really awkward.
Mm,
Anyway, George reveals it's software, and that means it can be stopped if they can get to the servers. The secret base, though, is inside the East Mission City, and George wants Chase to help him get there. Chase calls Sandra and tells her to grab Jill and meet them at a secret place. We then cut to Leon's meeting Susan Ingot, the CEO of Phoenotrans, because you know what this film really needed? Another forgettable character.
yep.
She wants to shut down the planned use of Afterlife, but he insists that we'll go ahead and that Chase has forced them to act now rather than later. Okay, this could have been a good scene because he got the suggestion that the head of Phoenotrans is scared and doesn't want to use Afterlife and is being blackmailed maybe by the military, giving us a character potentially who should have had a conflict and then could have basically turned sides as the film went on to help Chase and all of that.
Yep.
That's not, that insanely is not what they do. What they do
Nope.
is even more batshit crazy. I couldn't believe like it. But the idea of potentially making Chase's behavior and actions like a negative, I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, that's quite clever. Like the military is basically like, he just won't stop. So we're going to have to do this quicker than we planned. We wanted to take our time and think about this and all that. And basically, he's constantly exposing our plans and he's running around doing this and all of that and so on. Now, I would say, like, you're the fucking military. You can't kill one fucking reporter
I
who
know.
is running around with somebody who has a Zombrex chip in her fucking shoulder,
I
but also has a news station that he keeps visiting. He goes to public bars, and you can't deal with him. You're the American military.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it's very hard to take this film seriously when you realize it. Like we realize this is the level of idiocy it's doing.
Mm.
Plus, this is just another boring scene of two actors who are kind of just going through the motions, talking again. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. There is a lot of talking in this film.
Hmm. Well, speaking of talking, Chase, Sandra, Jill, and George all meet at the home of Garth. Hey everybody, here's Garth. And George reveals to the others what is happening. Here we learn that Sandra has a Zombrex chip, and Garth helps them tool up to go inside the city. The plan is talked through in a, I hope, was a nod to Resident Evil. We get
Mm.
like a Resident Evil style planning with like the imagery, the computer imagery, and the layouts. Remember like the Hive and stuff like that. As they're
Yeah,
talking about, it reminded me of that. Now I hope that was just a fun little nod to that because none of that shit's in Dead Rising. None of that.
no. Did you see that they done the whole oh look he's playing Dead Rising on the computer again.
Three.
Was that number three though? Then?
That was Dead Rising 3 he was playing. Yes, yes. So happily, because obviously it's like, well, it's all good and proper getting to a server room and using this flash drive that has a virus on it, but you're still probably going to need somebody who knows computers, right? Enter computer whiz.
Yeah.
Sandra is a hacker. Boom, boom, boom.
How
And
convenient.
she reckons she can shut the servers down. They just need to get to that server room. You know what? I'm okay with it because you kind of need this. You need this. I just might have changed the roles around a bit here. I think Garth should have been the hacker, and basically that's why they recruit him for this
Yeah,
mission.
it would have made that actually would have made more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed. Um, so yeah, then we cut to Leon's revealing to Susan that they found out that George is the leak, but they continue to argue about afterlife being implemented. Uh, just a random cut scene. So the military can find out that George is the leak. but can't find Chase Carter and his team. Not Chase on his own, his team.
His team.
So yeah, Chase asks Jill to stay at Garth's place and help him from there. And she's all like, "Oh no, I want to come with you. Yeah, I'll stay." It goes really quickly like that. I'm
Really
glad
good.
because I didn't need no big fucking argument. Because let's be honest, were you not thinking the same as I was? Who the fuck is Jill? Like,
I know.
really? There's a couple of references to Chuck here. For some reason now, Chuck Green, the star of Dead Rising 2, now gets a name drop here, suggesting that he can help them leave the city. As Sandra now reveals her backstory to George. She was army sent in to the Fortune City incident, which is Dead Rising 2. She got bitten, then was abandoned by the army and gone treated like a leper, all that nonsense.
Mm.
Basically, aside from the army thing, the same fucking backstory for the woman in the first Dead Rising film.
Yeah,
And yes,
exactly.
just like that character, she's also really boring. They make their way underground and start their risky journey. Meanwhile, Jill's peace at Garth's place is interrupted by the sound of arriving agents. See, I don't get this. I like if they're this good enough to is Garth off the grid? How difficult was he to find? Why did they search there? Were they following? Like, why are you so many steps behind, guys?
And why are they so goddamn noisy? It's
That
like, come on,
I
man,
literally
you're hardly trained.
I literally wrote they probably shouldn't make this much noise because their arrival, they're basically might as well have pulled up outside with sirens, going, "Hello, we're the army with guns here." You know what I mean? It's really bad. They give them more than enough time to escape.
Mm.
But she does manage to hide, and she hears herself and Garth are made targets on the phone, and the word is put out that they're infected, even though they're not. Now, I thought that's an interesting idea because that'll make them basically difficult to kind of interact with people if people think they're infected. Except that part there has no bearing on the
Mm.
rest of the film. Like it's
Doesn't matter.
irrelevant because Garth won't get out of this alive, and Jill will continue to do what she was doing anyway, openly.
Yep.
In the underground tunnels, they come across a headless corpse, and Chase is concerned as it wasn't there yesterday. Moving on, he thinks he hears something in the distance, so as a group, they are forced to find a different route. You kill zombies all the time. Why would a hearing is? Why would you suddenly need to go? No, we must go somewhere else. Meanwhile, Jill is meeting the news station boss in a secret area, which is just outside, bloody outside of the park. I guess. I
I know
mean,
if you want.
safest places in the open, right? All that nonsense.
Yeah, but it's like there's no one around.
She reveals to him that she's going to draw the military away from Chase by exposing herself and she needs his help. What any of this means nothing, really, at all. And this guy who, in front of Chase with actual footage, refused to help, is now going to help her
I know.
with even less stuff. Now, she does the whole speech about how we need to take a stand. We need to take a stand and all that nonsense, you know? It's like,
Yep.
yeah, you said you take a stand with your 6 feet under, but there you go.
Yep. She's just told him, oh, by the way, I'm now a target too for the military. So if you get involved, you and your family are going to be a target too. So
But like
please help me.
even have him say like, oh, the news stations are reporting that you're infected.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
something like that. But anyway, with just over 7 hours to go till the afterlife is triggered, Chase and company are still making their way through the tunnels. Okay, this bit goes on for fucking ages.
Yeah,
They
it
are just
does. Yeah.
making their way
It's
through
great.
these tunnels. They arrive at a room, smell something, and then grabbed by a group with weapons. It turns out this is a group of Skinner's men, and unsurprisingly, he's not friendly. Chase does have a few good ideas. First, he tries to pretend they're working for Leon's, but that doesn't fly. He then tries to claim that they're here to take out Rand. But Skinner's kind of like, who doesn't like Rand either, is basically like, well, look, Rand is powerful and dangerous. I ain't going to get on the wrong side of him or the military. He then
Mm.
turns his attention to Sandra, and in everyone's favorite, we need to make this guy the ultimate dick. He gets a bit rapey and sexually assaults her. This is all while Garth is hanging upside down, getting the shit kicked out of him elsewhere. I know they kind of want to make Garth the sort of like light comic relief, but I didn't
Yeah.
really vibe with him as a character.
No, I didn't. And going back to the other scene, it's just a carbon copy of the first one.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know.
As Skinner starts to drag off Sandra to a private room, Yay, that's what I want in my video game movies. Our group are able to get the upper hand as we see that Garth, even upside down, is a fairly dangerous man.
Mm.
And I fucking find, you know what I really appreciate about this fight scene? Because this is a good little violent fight scene. Some great gore, some great violence between humans and humans, and a good explosion at the end. All
Yeah.
done really, really well. And actually, as well, Skinner gets stabbed in the dick, which is always a great result for someone who's going to rape a woman, rape someone else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I really like this scene. But you know what I appreciate the most about it? Honestly, our group, who are supposed to be survivors, constantly getting caught, knocked about by zombies, almost killed, look like how did you survive? So to see that
Well,
actually, when their backs against the wall, they will fight and violently fight and kill and overpower people with guns. Made me go, this is how you survive. You fight dirty, you get nasty. Yeah, you can be under the cosh at first, but you can get the upper hand.
yeah, yeah, of course, obviously, survival of the fittest, isn't it? So,
But behind us, we've not seen him do any of this. We were now finally seeing him.
mm.
They survive, but they lose all their gear. What? And all that noise has brought zombies out of the tunnels too. It's just zombies, though, right? We've dealt with zombies before. Well, no. We've got something different. These zombies are running fast and they're like wild animals. It's a new type and they barely survive. Unfortunately, Garth, he got bit, but time for some Zombrex. Because Zombrex fixes zombies' bites, so they'll definitely be okay, right?
Yeah, yes.
Right, let's go back to it then. So these new types of zombies, this is the biggest film's biggest criticism. First off, fucking hated it. Hated it. No!
Yeah.
No. It's the most boring fucking way to do zombies like this, right? I do think the film does a good job of making them seem really deadly and very
Mm.
feral. Up to a point, they are sometimes just a bit grabby, and that's about it. Like they're grabbing and not really doing anything else. And there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
scene later on with Chase where he should have been bitten 100 times over if they weren't just pouring at him.
yep,
But we'll get to that. But the problem is these actors now need to move fast. And because of that, the prosthetics and makeup can't quite be the bloody level because it'd all be falling off common like
yeah.
it would be a problem. So they don't really look like zombies anymore. They kind of just look like I don't know, like
Face paint.
pale monsters, like
Yeah,
some
face
sort of
paint.
like dirty, yeah. And it's not very good. It looks plasticky. I
Mm.
don't like it.
Nope, I didn't like it either. Yeah. It looked really, really cheesy. Like really, really old fashioned, like sort of style.
It reminded me of House of the Dead.
Mm.
House of the
Yeah,
Dead,
yeah, yeah,
somehow,
yeah.
yeah. So the group discussed what just happened, knowing that the fast type appeared to be patients because Chase noticed like an indicator number on one's neck, and they suspect that Phoenotrans is to blame. No shit. If it's not Phoenotrans, it's the military. It's one of the two guys.
Mm.
George claims to know nothing and an argument starts, but Chase gets them to refocus and build some weapons. Bow! Otherwise, they're never going to make it to the server room. Bow! Get that butt rock going! We're building some weapons because it's dead rising. Meanwhile, Jill confronts Susan as she is getting in her car and reveals that she's going to run the story about afterlife, but has two versions that puts the blame on either the military or Phoenotrans. And Susan, rightfully, goes, I don't care, you ain't got nothing, blows her off. But later we see her speaking to our underling and revealing that she feels trapped by Leon's. Now, I'm going to stop there because we're about to enter the maddest part of the film. So,
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that, yeah, of course you just blow off Jill. Like you're not going to, on the street, you're not going to say anything incriminating, but also like, so what have you got stories? When is going to deny it? She reveals it that they've already discredited the name of George as well, like
Yep.
publicly. These people are powerful. You're not doing shit. And two stories, one that blames Phoenotrans and one blames the military. That's not fucking leverage.
Nope. But what I don't get is how she's just standing in the open and nothing's happening. No one
What do
grabs
you
her. No
mean?
police pull up. The military don't turn up and grab her and pull her off.
Oh,
She doesn't
Jill.
get. Yeah. She doesn't
Well,
get
because
on
the
her phone.
military's shit. The
Oh
military's
no.
shit. Jesus Christ, they're shit. But the whole trap by Leon's thing could have been a good angle. Like I said, the idea of having someone like her turn over a new leaf and be like, look, we've been used. We started being a trans for force of good. We
Mm.
generally wanted to help people who were infected, but we've now like lost sight of that and this, that, whatever, and all of that. No, forget all that. For some reason, this film goes, you know what we randomly need? A supervillain. Because she reveals to our underling that instead, basically, if afterlife works, Fina Trans is no more. Because if there's no need for Zombrex, the company doesn't exist. Right? So okay, and rather than let it go under, she plans instead to immediately, once Afterlife's been activated, release a new strain of the zombie virus so that they can stay in business. And I was like, no, this is insane. What are
Yep,
we doing here?
that changed fast.
Like the right. First off, what do you mean a strain? When that? Why are we doing multiple strains? And she says, "Oh, Dr. Rand, create. Don't overcomplicate things. For fuck's sake, we have a very simple
Yep.
story about stopping afterlife. That's all it needs to be.
Did you
Because
think?
because this is the fucking simplest way they could have got around this. She starts to help Chase because stopping Afterlife benefits her. If they stop Afterlife, the zombie virus is not eradicated, and people will still need the zombie chips and Zombrex.
Yep.
So she ends up helping Chase because the enemy of my enemy is my fucking friend. And
Yep.
she can even, at the end, you can have Leon's, her holding a gun on Leon's and revealing to him, I helped Chase because you were going to put me out of business. And so she's still a bad guy,
Yeah.
but like it's not mega villain. I will release a new zombie virus into like what the fuck? It
Did you think
comes
that
out of nowhere.
for me, there's a lot of this where I got a lot of like Resident Evil vibes, where they like to create different viruses. You know, like but the William Birkin was Billy Zane in the dungeon. Yeah.
Oh yes,
So
we've entered Resident Evil territory. This is so
mm,
far removed from Dead Rising. It's best to stop seeing it almost as a Dead Rising film.
yeah,
But yeah, so that insanity happened. It ain't gonna really mean much by the end, because comeuppances don't really happen in this film. But
no,
we'll get to that at the end. So we've got a little less than 6 hours left before Afterlife kicks off. Our group are forced to hide in an underground car park from a military patrol, but accidentally, because we're just rolling from. That's why I was surprised that you said you didn't think there was enough zombie action. We fucking go straightly into another one now, where they disturb a zombie horde inside, which includes some of the super infected ones. So, kind of, I guess, like almost like the games got harder. The super infected are just around a lot more now. Like it's that
yeah,
kind of thing. For those, it's a niche reference, but it's just for now. So I'm currently playing New Game Plus on Dead Island 2 solo. It is so much fucking harder. And there's a lot more super zombies around. That's what this reminds me of. Like they've
mm,
now reached a new game plus or reached a higher level. So now like there's higher level zombies around everywhere.
yeah,
Uh so yeah, so it looks well over for Garth, but the zombies in it smelling him and leave, which basically tells you all you need to know. He's in trouble. Um, But he does notice before that it doesn't work for Sandra, and it's like, okay, that's odd because if they both had taken Zombrex, like or both were zombies, yeah. Well, basically, the Zombrex didn't work on him, and he's now a zombie himself, attacking Chase, who's found a vehicle. Chase is inside a car trying to drive it around. Yeah, there's Garth. Cheers. I don't know. Did you care?
no,
Cool.
no,
So
yep,
Chase is having trouble saving the rest, navigating the packed car park, and dealing with the super infected that keep jumping in the car. The film, I think, does a decent job here of showing how much of a threat they are, and Chase has no choice but to kill his friend Garth. Now, I like the. Oh, I actually don't mind. I think the action scene in the underground car park is pretty gritty and pretty horrible. And
yeah,
pretty dangerous. It's not shot brilliantly. It's a little too frantic for my liking, but I think the kind of set pieces, particularly, and again, this is a good example of where Jesse Metcalf is a good actor. Like he's doing good action stuff here.
yeah. I mean, my only issues was, I had two issues. One was is just a bit silly, but the other one, I didn't like the whole darkness and the sort of like the red light. I didn't like that because it was hard to see sometimes, you know. And then this is just me being picky, but there's no way that car would have started, man. That car's been there for months, man. That battery is flat, you know.
Yes, that is being picky. You're absolutely right because we don't know the circumstances around that specific car.
Yeah, true.
But you know, you are being picky. I'm gonna disagree, politely disagree with your view. Now, I normally would agree with you on the lighting issue. However, this is a different, like, it's just for me, it's a different way of doing it in this film. We've had a lot of other, like, if this was the same style throughout the entire film, dark with lights like that, I'd be like, this is fucking awful. Because it's
Mm,
once only. In fact, the next sort of sequence with zombies, like it's done differently again. Like because each
yeah.
time they're doing it a little bit differently, I quite liked it. More and more keep coming down. Chase is finally able to get through a door into relative safety, but he doesn't know if Sandra and George are safe. Well, obviously they are. They're not going to kill them off screen, are they? Chase finds himself in a hospital. After dealing with a few more super infected, he eventually finds himself overwhelmed and seemingly about to die. Now, again, this is quite a frantic set of scenes because we then go to having to move through an abandoned hospital, and
Mm,
then eventually down to like an escalators that are like escalators, and that's where we get quite a frantic fight with these super zombies as well. And this is where I was talking about earlier on, where he's kind of just getting poured at rather
yeah.
than getting bitten. There's a point where they're on top of him, like three or four of them are on top of him. He
I have
doesn't get bit there.
I have no idea how he took it. I mean, it's ridiculous. He would have got bitten somewhere, whether it be in the leg or anywhere. It's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like it. Even though, again, I think the action sequences are quite good, and I like the frantic nature of it. I think everybody, from the members of the cast who are playing the zombies to Jesse Metcalf, are doing well here. There's a lot of energy in the scene, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But he's saved by someone with a shotgun. It's Jordan. And did you shout and cheer for the return of Jordan?
Do you know what? At first, I was like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah,
And then it was only when he said her name, I was like, "Oh yeah, shit, it's her."
yeah.
How's
I
it?
don't blame you. I don't blame you. You know, for who the hell is that? Exactly that. Meanwhile, Jill, because fuck the action stuff. Let's go back to Jill, who's met the station boss again, and he brings out a new whistleblower. So somehow he is now connected with the underling of Susan Ingot. And he reveals to Jill that Rand was given free rein to experiment on people if he created Afterlife, which he did. And he's been left in his lab working away to what may be a possible cure. What, we're talking about cures now? Yes, we are actually now talking about cures. He then gives Jill a flash drive with footage that links Susan to the experiment and reveals that the line Susan is willing to cross isn't one he will, and then he leaves. And this is why, Susan Ingot, you do not tell other people your crazy, mad plans.
Yep, exactly.
Meanwhile, Chase and Jordan reunite as he tries to explain to her about what happened after he ran with her footage. He wants her forgiveness, but she isn't game. She seems to not really, like, almost not remember him. A new man now arrives with Sandra and George, and everyone meets and has a sad moment about Garth and the seemingly failure of Zombrex. Everyone's like, oh no, Garth. Anyway, the new man now reveals that there was a breach at the lab and they escaped. He has been bitten though, and we see that Jordan basically is effectively traumatized by her experience.
Yeah,
But they do need her to lead them back in. Chase feels bad, so doesn't want to, but Sandra insists basically so many lives are on the line, they must. And Jordan, overhearing this, speaks up and agrees to go back to save those people. I didn't mind this scene. I think it's solid acting, like from the actor playing Jordan. It's kind of the idea that she's been traumatized by the experiments that have been done on her.
yeah, I was okay with it. Yeah, so again, at first, I didn't get why she was being like all cold to change, but then I got it in the end. Yeah, obviously she's going to be messed up. She's probably been experimented on, and so on.
Yeah, 100%. We have a little over an hour left before Afterlife is triggered, and Jordan leads them outside and to a nearby facility. It's back to the tunnels. Yeah. In they go, eventually coming to a breached area, which just so happens to be amongst Rand's failed experiments. Chase is not too impressed to see that Jordan kills two human guards before they arrive in the server room. Now, in a better film, this could have been a really important moment because she goes ahead and then he follows her shortly afterwards, and she basically killed two humans. And he kind of
Mm,
has a bit of a face like, what the fuck? Like, and the
yeah,
idea that Jordan has reached the point now where she'll do anything to survive. Like, I think in a better film, that could have been a really, really important thing, aspect. But
yeah,
it just feels like a throwaway moment again.
yeah. So I mean, they wouldn't have done it, but they could have gone into more detail about about how maybe understanding her traumas and what she's been through and why she's basically broken and why she doesn't care now. But it would have been too much effort for
Yeah,
this type of film.
or even doing it the other way and him grabbing her like by the shoulder, spinning her around and going, basically, do not kill other people. Like we don't kill humans. Because
Mm,
that would then make sense. Because the next, like she could angrily like push him off and be like, you don't know what I've been through. I do anything to survive.
mm.
But he keeps insisting because the next two guards they come across, they kind of grab and hold at gunpoint. And Jordan even gives Chase a look here. And I almost made me think like the scene I'm talking about did exist and it got cut.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they get the jump on his guards inside, and Sandra sets a computer wizardry up, setting up malware on the server. Hey guys, I know it's inside like the zombie sort of area and all that, but maybe have a few more guards protecting your very important servers that, trigger afterlife.
I counted like five, maybe six, but I might have been, well, yeah, the most.
I think it might even be four. Jordan
Yeah,
kills two, and they get the jump on two others.
yeah, four. That's
I
it.
think,
Four.
yeah, no, there's more upstairs, you're right, but in that particular room, yes. But
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, Sandra starts setting the malware on the server. The military outside start to notice though, because obviously when someone starts messing around with your system, someone is going to notice. Which admittedly, the guard they keep hostage does actually say it is like, in a really incredulous way, goes, "What you'd think we would have noticed?" I shouted at my screen, "Fuck you! You can't even catch a stupid reporter running around. You ain't noticing shit."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think we should have cut. I think we should have cut to a fucking guard out there with some outdated computers. I mean, proper outdated computers, like big old back, but he's playing Snake on his phone or something, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jordan is still traumatized by what was done to her, seems to make a decision and heads off alone. Leon's orders a defensive measures to stop the malware, forcing Sandra to be creative while Chase freaks out about Jordan. So we keep cutting between Leon's and his one guy. Remember, and jokingly as well, Leon's in casual wear here as well. It's like he just walked in off the street. It's so weird. And them in the server room, basically trying to block each other, speeding up the time, making it so that the malware won't upload it quick enough, and vice
Mm.
versa, and all of that stuff. It's all extremely boring.
Boring. Yeah, yeah.
He decides Chase freaks out about Jordan and decides he has to go after her. And he goes to Sandra, like, I have to go after her. And Sandra's like, and it looks like because she shouted at him earlier on for being all like doing this. She's like, no, go my hero.
God.
Basically, it's the Rocky thing. She basically should have gone win to Chase. It's the same style.
Yeah.
Anyway, they say their goodbyes because obviously they may not get out of this alive. And it seems as though Jordan is going off the rand. No shit. What? I didn't need that spelled out.
It was obvious.
Who we now see is experiment on a zombie. And for all you lucky people, zombie boobs.
I know.
Oh, yes. Fucking weird. Weird people. I always find things that is really fucking odd. Because, like, is it supposed to be titillating? Because there are dead. That's a dead body. That's a dead body. What are you doing? Like, why was she topless? The zombie topless.
I
Because you can't even say it's like, oh well, he took her clothes off to experiment on and stuff like that. Then why isn't she fully naked? Do you see what I mean? Like, do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's that level of what you wanted to do is show some boobs in your film, but you didn't have a normal way to do it. So you thought, let's just make it a zombie,
yeah,
and they're gonna do something I think is a little bit grosser in a bit. And you know what I'm talking about regarding that particular zombie that I
yeah,
thought was a little bit like, oh, you didn't have to do that. Like, it's just a bit like, you
yeah.
know? But anyway,
I mean, I don't think at any point during the games that there's any naked zombies. Is
no,
there? I
no,
don't think so.
no,
No,
no.
no,
You've
no.
got in Fortune City, you've got like sort of dancing girls, like outfits, like stuff like that. It's like bikinis and stuff like that. You get a bit more of that.
Yeah,
There's certainly no nudity.
yeah,
So she gets to jump on Rand, killing him. And obviously, it should take you a split second to realize, well, that's obviously not Rand. And it's not. Who arrives behind her and knocks her out with a stun gun. Meanwhile, so now we're going to jump back between the Rand stuff and the stuff in the server room. Because the guard they have hostage is basically like, well, I ain't going to help you. And after threatening him, he basically starts to help them.
yep.
Which is it, guy? Which is it? He reveals a pathway in the software to get around the military's remote access and continue the malware upload. Realizing the need to do something and fast, Leon orders an airstrike in the building because apparently it's taken them this long to realize or remember that they don't actually need the physical service. So why the fuck are you even having there? Why you even got access to it? Like, why? I do not understand this plot point.
I've got no idea. It looks like they completely forgot what the whole plot of the film was, and they thought,
Was
oh,
to
actually,
get to
hang on,
the
we can do it this way. Yeah,
like it just makes sense. But also trigger it now. Why are you waiting an extra? Oh well, we've got to wait for those 15 minutes. Like, surely you don't. Like, they said it was basically a press of a button.
I know.
Why are we waiting 15 minutes? I don't understand. I just don't get it. Jordan is in trouble, and Rand is having his fun, I guess, because this is about to get really fucking confusing, folks.
Yeah,
Really confusing. As the military find a way to slow down the malware upload, it won't upload in time as we see that we have around 8 minutes left. Now, this is where I wrote that because I was going to do a countdown. However, unfortunately, the way it's filmed, the way it's shot, and the way the malware thing continues, it makes it pointless. Don't worry
yeah,
about it, folks. It doesn't matter. The timer doesn't matter. Chase finally arrives and puts a gun around, who was unimpressed by the gun and Chase. I like Rand's lack of interest or care or anything like that. It
yeah.
does remind me of a kind of doctor like who's kind of lost such sight of reality that nothing really bothers him anymore. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Doctor in Day of the Dead.
Just,
Um,
I was, I,
who,
I
who
was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
who had lost such sight of sense of normalcy that he couldn't see the danger in front of him with,
yeah.
roads and stuff like that. That's what it reminded me of. But from a nastier side of point of view, well, Rand doesn't care about anyone. So Rand reveals that he's been working on a cure, and Jordan is its best chance. He's very aloof and uncaring, but he has a goal, and sadly, it involves Jordan. And if you're thinking, what? Oh, it's the same. What? This is
Yeah.
such like nonsense. What's about to be spoken? It makes no. I don't get it at all, because then it turns out his cure isn't really a cure at all. It's something that will make you immortal, but first you have to die first, see if it works, which is what he wants to do with Jordan. But for some reason, he seems to think that this will only work on Jordan. But why? But Jordan hasn't been in his hands for ages, according to the skip. But he didn't seem that bothered about trying to. What? Also, what do you mean you've made a cure that'll make you immortal, but you have to die first? What does that mean? Does that mean a zombie? Like, what? I don't get it. And it does not get explained properly.
I mean, this 7 or 8 minutes completely flew over my head. I was listening to her. I was like, I've got no idea what you're talking about. You're talking about a cure. You're talking about she's the one. She's the key. But she was running around the building, so she wasn't even in your care. So how the hell can she be the one? And
Yeah.
the hero, the one who's going to save everyone else, the cure, whatever. But she wasn't
Yeah.
even in your. I was confused.
Yeah, it was baffling stuff, and it didn't need to be this way. We've already explained to you how simple it's supposed to be, and this could have been the case here. They get there, and it revealed that actually Rand isn't a bad dude, or he is a bad dude, but he's got the shades of grey stuff, and that he is trying to find a legitimate cure. But to do that, he needed human subjects, and because of that, he's lost sight of like the medical side of things, where he was happy to experiment on people to find said cure. You could even do the part where he has the cure and he wants to test it on someone, e.g., Jordan, and he uses that cure in front of Chase to show that he can save Jordan,
Mm.
and that's what happens. And then the next series of events involving George still occur because George reveals to be a bad guy who wants the cure to sell it on the black market.
Yep. Oh, he's just
Because
done something like he gets bitten and then he injects himself.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and it doesn't work.
yeah,
This cure doesn't work, and it transforms him into a super zombie.
yeah. There you go.
But anyway, George is here, shoots Rand dead, takes a new drug, and reveals that that was actually his goal all along. And you know what? Fuck you, Chase, and all of you. You deserve exactly what you get here. Because
Yep.
you basically took everything this man who apparently worked for Fina Trans on face value. How the fuck have you survived the military for 3 years? This guy comes along and said, I used to work for Fina Trans, and now I'm definitely going to help you, and I want to get inside there for this reason. And you went, well, I don't. I don't like it. But all right, buddy, let's do this.
Did
You
you
should
do?
be dead, motherfucker.
Did you do what I did? As soon as I saw him, I thought, okay, he's going to turn on you. 100%, he's a traitor. I knew straight away.
Do you know why I didn't? Do you know why I didn't? Because he was such a boring character and they've all been
Mm,
so boring. And because I might have gone down that route had they not thrown me such a fucking curveball
mm,
with Susan Ingot. That was such a curveball, it threw me off completely.
yeah,
But I just didn't. The problem is, I don't really see why, because it's kind of revealed that Rand knows George. So what George used to work with Rand, and he just wanted this new strains of viruses to
yeah.
sell. But like, that's a bigger story. That's a bigger story.
Mm,
Why is it just a throwaway plot point in this movie with all these throwaway plot points? Anyway, he shoots at Chase, who's able to get out of the way before leaving with it. And with the help of Sandra, he tries to save Jordan, but she still needs a way to get the malware uploaded faster. So here we get him sort of trying to find a specific cure that she finds in the server files while zombies are attacking him. Um, what's called it? And here's a good example of what I think is just a bit gross. He uses a makeshift weapon, but he misses and ends up smashing this naked zombie in her boobs. And the thing is, like, they want us to see it because the camera swings around
yeah,
and he kind of he stops to sort of look at what he's done. And I was just like, I was like, that's fucking weird, man. You guys are fucking weird.
yeah.
Fucking weird,
It
right?
pointless. There's no need for it.
It just feels a bit egregious. It's like, I just don't get it because, as well, it's really bad. It's one of the areas of bad CGI.
Yeah.
Anyway, George now makes it worse by releasing all the zombies while Sandra cuts the Zombrix chip out, believing it's too late for the uploads. She panics, seeing that it's going to be uploaded, and decides to cut a Zombrix chip out. In the end, she's able to stop Afterlife. I'm just jumping, Damon. I'm just jumping to it. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about the ups and downs. She, of course, is able to stop Afterlife, even though it is very close, naturally. And the poor soldier she had hostage now dies. This poor guy helps her all the way to the end and then gets killed. I was like, that is some next level bullshit.
No, I felt bad for him
Yeah.
because he was there. Again, I knew it. I said he's going to run out of flipping ammo and he's going to get jumped.
He even starts to protect her at the end.
Yeah,
Like the motherfucker should have left her.
100%.
With the military bearing down on them planned to launch missiles. So you launched you launched missiles. You launched an aircraft to blow it up, knowing that it was going to be after. Like they would have given you an ETA from the start. We're
Yep.
launching now at 10 minutes till target. They were going to be late. Chase has to fight with the zombies to get to Jordan as Sandra makes her way out. Anyway, obviously he's able to save Jordan, and together they're able to meet with Sandra as the lift she was arrives at a higher floor, and they arrive happily on the roof to find a helicopter waiting for them. It's Chuck, who also generally had the best timing in the world to arrive there. Now, if you think this looks like Chuck, nothing like Chuck from the game, you would be correct. Yeah, it looks like, and that's fine. That's fine. You have you've made no characters from the game. Why are you randomly throwing Chuck, who isn't just a side character? He is the literal star of Dead Rising 2. So by
Mm.
putting him in this, you kind of make it a focal point, but you also make it pointless because it means nothing. This could have been anybody. And him awkwardly saying when Chase gets in the helicopter, he's all like, thanks, Chuck. And Chuck's like, hey, after what you did to my daughter back in no, 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 no. I no. Fuck off. Hated it. Worst part of the movie for me. Of course, it meant nothing to you, right?
After watching that scene, I actually went back. I went on YouTube because I've not played Dead Rising 2 at the moment, but I
Yes.
will get there. I went on YouTube and I watched like a whole clip of it just to give myself a bit of knowledge about it. And yeah, I just thought it was. For me personally, and this is again me being picking. Maybe they're trying to promote the third movie. If there is a third movie, I don't know.
There
Or
isn't. This is
oh
it.
okay.
Yeah, this was done, mate. First off, pretty sure Crackle isn't a thing anymore.
Oh.
And it's been 8 years since this, or almost 9 years since this film was released. There is no third fucking film in this incoming at all. Um, so yeah, everyone manages to escape in a helicopter as the zombies race across the roof and the military plane now blows it up. I love that that military plane didn't bother to report, hey, General, target hit, but we did notice a helicopter taking off. Would you like me to swing back around and shoot it
Yeah,
down?
blow it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, then we get that really forced Chuck's daughters here. And then we jump to 93 minutes later. Are you taking a piss with them? They do it, they just do it to wind me up.
Yeah.
93 minutes later. Okay, then. We see George, because you think 93 minutes later, maybe I would thinking we cut into maybe the 93 minutes later and all the footage is going across the news stations. And then you're doing quick cuts of General Leon's being arrested. All these
Mm.
things that you can do, the Trans head being arrested, all these things that are happening in a short amount of time. No. George, because remember him, is in the underground tunnels and runs into Leon's agents who had been dispatched to go chase. Everybody was late here. And then is just shot dead. And they walk past the body, and something like they say like, "Oh, leave the body. Something will come along and eat it." But nobody in that group thinks they'll go, "What's that in his hand, though?" Like,
That, that just drove me, that drove me insane.
fucking drove me insane. Why would you not film it so that when he drops it, like I haven't fallen, it drops, and we see it roll, and maybe it falls into like a drain or like under us, under something, so it's not noticeable, but we
Exactly.
see it. And then just because I'm a glutton, I would have then added a fucking sequel bait touch, a bigger one. And that would have been a reference to another game series, but it would have at least made me smart. I would have then transition. Say you're focusing, right? You're focusing on the so we see it drop and we see it roll away. The agents carry on, and then the camera swoops down to where it is, and we see the vials are smashed. And then we see a little rat come along and then start to nibble at it.
Yep.
Resident Evil 2, bitches. Resident Evil 2. Suggesting that, and that rat, maybe even if you want to do it, have a jump scare finally where the rat sort of transforms and then sort of leaps at the screen as like a zombie rat, suggesting that it's going to go out and spread. Because rats, of course, aren't confined by like walls. They can get out into the real population and stuff like that. But it's nothing like that. It just ends. It just fucking ends. We get no
Yep.
resolution about anyone. Nothing. No resolution about Chase, Jordan, Leon's, Susan. Nothing. It just fucking ends. Which could be suggestive that maybe they want to do a third movie that would sort of end and wrap up the military side of things. But how much bigger could it get than it already fucking was? Do you see what I mean? Like
Mm.
it couldn't. We had wrapped up the all this Phoenix stuff. All it is basically nobody gets their comeuppance. Like there's no satisfying ending when nobody gets their comeuppance.
Yep.
I I don't like I said I don't know about this film. I think it's fine. I think it's probably the best we could have gotten from a Dead Rising film that wasn't following the games. I think it is, and as a sequel to Watchtower, it's fine. But as a film, just as a film, I find it so dull, so uninteresting that I just think it's so fucking forgettable. This
Mm.
is not my first watch of this film, folks.
Oh, really?
And I barely remembered a thing about it. I barely remembered a single fucking thing about it. Like that's really bad for me. I've got a very good memory when it comes to films, but I couldn't remember a thing about this. I couldn't remember characters, I couldn't remember sequences, couldn't remember endings. I remember before I started watching it thinking that Chuck Green was a bigger had a bigger role in it. For some reason, I remembered him as being part of Chase's group,
Oh,
like
okay.
part of
Yeah.
his team. Something like that's how badly I got this one wrong. And that's not a good sign for me at all. Watching it again, I think it's fine. I think if you watched it, you could watch this not knowing Dead Rising at all.
Yeah.
But you would have to watch Watchtower because it would be so confusing without
Mm.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. As I said, I do feel it's slightly better than the first one, but we're talking marginal. We're talking like a 3.5 to a 4.
Well, I wouldn't
And
be that harsh. I think that's quite harsh. I might go. I'm more going in the middle, around the five mark. Because I don't think it's
Mm.
good and I don't think it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I said I didn't like the ending. Um, I got too many Resident Evil vibes. I mean, you were talking about the whole rat scene, but for me, I thought the entire scene where he killed the doctor, took the thing. I got like the Hunk vibes and Ada vibes. He's took the vial, then he's running away. He gets killed, and the geezer comes in and goes, we've killed him. We've got the package, and then they leave.
Mm.
Like that, like they were there personally to get that disease or whatever is the cure or
Which
whatever
would
it
have
is.
made more sense if Leon's had sent them, but we see Leon's ordering them in to get chased. But if he had ordered them in and said, "Look, you're the backup, go in there and get Dr.
Mm.
Rand's research."
But why did it take them 93? I mean, they said 93 minutes later, so they're just arriving then.
Yeah, they were quite behind.
Yeah, I just don't get how they're so far behind. They're the military. They have planes. They have bloody jets. But I don't know.
No, no, absolutely. But then, no, to be fair, they're supposed to be a covert team, aren't they? So they
Yeah,
wouldn't be necessarily using the military stuff. However, like I say, go even more Resident Evil with it. I'd have George shot, but not be dead. To be lying there hurt. And they look at him, point the gun, and the underling's like, no, no, leave him. Something will come along and eat him anyway. And then we cut to George looking at the vial, injects himself with it,
yeah.
and then we cut. Or maybe even no, he puts his head down and then he looks up and we see he's becoming like a monster, and then we cut. Exactly like the introduction. But then we are literally just ripping off Resident Evil 2. We are.
When the screen goes back, it has to be a big roar.
Yeah,
You
or
know?
no, even better. Just go all in and just go, hear him go stars. Just fuck it, why not? What difference does it make? Um, It is it. It is it for now, folks. There's been no word, no sequel, nothing else here within. And already, even if you were to continue this story, it's nearly 9 years too late. I'd imagine most of the cast have well and truly moved on. I don't ever expect to see Dead Rising in film format ever again. I think it could work as a sort of animated series, but I think
Mm,
you're gonna have. But I think overall, the games are so restrictive because of how they're told and zombies and things like that nobody's going to care. There are far,
yeah,
far more interesting properties to adapt to worry about Dead Rising. We have two films, which is two more films than I ever thought we'd get, if I'm honest, about Dead Rising. So
yeah.
there you go.
I think also the problem with Dead Rising is that there's so many damn zombie films that it's like it can be too many, and
Yeah,
I personally think I don't think it would work. I mean, maybe a TV series or, as you said, an animated TV.
but
It
even it's
might.
so restrictive, it's so restrictive. I don't
Yeah,
like
exactly.
when you take the gameplay, how do you adapt that and put that on it? It's fucking hard.
It's impossible.
I mean, there are other media, there are comic books and stuff like that, of course. So there are other ways you can enjoy your Dead Rising fixes. But for now, this was the Dead Rising second film, End Game. Do you have any thoughts on this one that you want to share with us? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.